What's up everybody, my name's David. For somewhere in the 20s, I've done a lot, such as travel around the world, try different cuisines and foods, along with seeing different animals and creatures. But along the way, I made mistakes. So here are 5 financial mistakes that I learned in my 20s. Number 1, traveling. Now I mentioned before that I got to travel a lot, whether it was for work or whether it's for fun, but it comes at a cost. There's different types of costs associated with travel, such as food, entertainment, lodging, your airfare. So these are spread out through your trips. According to Value Penguin, a domestic trip in the US for 4 nights will cost you roughly about $581. And for an international trip outside the US, roughly 12 nights, it will cost you roughly $3,251. Now hearing that, you may think it's unrealistic for the cost, or I'm being hypocritical of saying that I do travel and I don't want you to travel, but keep in mind that I'm speaking from my experience. In the past, I made decisions to book a flight on a Friday and then fly across around the world on that following Tuesday. So what I'm asking is that you make your travel plans very carefully and decisively. So I want to offer you some tips that I learned along the way. A tip would be travel with a friend or a group of friends. By traveling with a friend or a group of friends, you're able to reduce the cost of traveling, such as food, entertainment, and possibly your Airbnb or your hotel costs. And another way that I like to reduce the cost for traveling is using credit card points. When planning for a trip, I try to look for the most efficient and most cost-effective for flights, but on top of that, I like to use credit card points, which is ultimately used as a redeeming value towards any trips. What this means is after you make your payments to your credit card, all the points that you racked up for your credit cards can redeem for cashbacks or what I use for flights. And next to traveling, number 2, going out too much. Now looking back into it, in my early 20s, I definitely went out too much. And going out too much is very expensive. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American household spends roughly $3,000 a year dining out. And according to MoneyUnder30.com, a lot of restaurants charge up to roughly 300% markup. So what that means is that if you're able to make something at home for $5, it's going to cost you roughly $15 at a restaurant. As you can see, going out is very expensive. And we may not be going out as much as we were before, but if you are, just by chance, I want you to think of these other alternatives or substitutes for going out. Some of the things that I like to do instead of go out is that I'll invite some of my friends to come over, or we can have like a potluck so everyone can bring some of the things and reduce the cost rather than going to a bar or restaurant which a food could be 3 times the cost or a drink could be potentially 3-4 times the cost. Number 3, not budgeting. Now, if you want to move forward, you have to look back. So in order to progress forward, you want to make sure that you're able to budget properly. So any mistakes, any expenses that you're seeing that it's very high for a particular month, you want to make sure that your habits are controlled by keeping a budget. I personally like the app called Mint. It's the place where I track my budget along with my expenses. It's where I was able to figure out that travel and going out were my major expenses usually. So sometimes looking at it, I saw that it was a few hundred to a couple thousand that I would spend by traveling and going out so much. On top of using Mint, I would check my credit card statements and my credit card accounts to make sure and reflect upon just added reinforcement to see that what I'm actually spending over the course of a month. Number 4, not paying off bad debt. I want to explain that there's 2 types of debt. There's good debt and bad debt. Good debt is a type of debt that can actually build wealth, such as a business loan or a mortgage if you're trying to rent out the property or just appreciating value. Bad debt is loan or money that you borrow that won't give you a positive return on investments. Things such as a car, student loans, or a house that has a high interest rate. They're the opposite of what good debt are. So as I mentioned before, the things that you can borrow for money, ultimately to create more wealth than what you already have right now. And if you want more details of what bad debt is and how I handle bad debt, I talk about some of the bad debt experience that I have in my life in my debt journey video. So if you want to check it out, check out the video above. Number 5, not investing. I break this up into 2 categories. So financially investing for yourself along with personally investing for yourself. So let's start off with financial investing. One of the first mistakes that I made when I first started my professional career was that I did the bare minimum financially. So that's whether it was saving the amount or contributing my 401k with my employer match. I did the bare minimum, which is bad. So overall, if you do the bare minimum, you're gonna be like the average Joe. And if you wanna be the average Joe, that's okay. But a lot of people who are watching this video or want to be more financially ready and independent, you want to make sure that you're doing more than that. If you want a hard number or a range, I recommend that you invest 10 to 50% of your pre-tax income. Make sure that all your outstanding debt are current and active and they're not delinquent. And if you're able to live below your means and still have extra cash at the end of the month, please feel free to save more. Lastly, I want to make sure that you're investing into yourself personally. So that means doing things as passion projects, going back to school, learning new hobbies or new skills. Overall, I want to make sure that you guys are taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. So those are some of the lessons and mistakes that I made in my 20s. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to like, comment, share, and I'll see you again. Take care.